This episode of Skirmish Supremacy is brought to you by Reformation Brewery, the official beer of your game night.
It's quite cool.
Today's
Nick
the first
sounds
day.
throaty.
Do we even need an intro now?
Oh, because I said it right as the record button went live, so, hey, whatever.
Right. I mean, Andy kicked it off. He's like, I think you sound good. You sound throaty. in that, posh British accent. So, I mean, there we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode, I think it's 96, of Skirmish Supremacy Podcast. Joining us tonight, we have Tim, who also thinks I sound throaty.
Not as throaty as Nick.
That would be because I am totally getting over 3 days of barely being able to move. Been down with the flu. So Tim thought it was a great idea that I kick this off and also introduce our guest of honor. We have Andy Hobday with us from Footsore Miniatures, Gangs of Rome. There was another title that he's using that's the umbrella for it all, and I totally forgot it, as usual.
War Banner.
Yes.
War Banner. See, I knew it was War something, but, War
Let's
Banner.
not forget Test of Honor, since apparently he just came out as like this totally awesome guy on Beasts of War.
Well, I mean, there is that too, but that's his other accolades for the other stuff. That little company called Warlord Games. That nobody cares about them.
Warlord, if you're listening, he's just kidding.
Totally.
Awesome. So, Andy, how you doing tonight, man? I know that things have been a little crazy lately with the launch of Gangs of Rome and getting everything ready to go for that.
Yeah, absolutely bonkers. We've been videoing all day today as well. So I rushed back from Birmingham to come on here because I blew you both out twice, and I feel really, really bad about it.
Well, if you didn't beforehand, you really did once you finally joined, and you were like, well, fuck this. Why did I do it?
So yeah, no,
Awesome.
it's been pretty crazy. So yeah, we're very excited about the launch.
Nice. So, yeah, for those of you listening, Gangs of Rome is, I'm sure you've heard of it at this point, just because Andy's been all over Facebook and everywhere else he can be talking about it, where basically you get to play a street gang in this city of ancient Rome, and you get to go around stabbing fools. Andy, does that sound right?
That's perfect. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. You don't need me.
All right, I want...
Well, I mean, show's over. I'm done. Covered it all.
Awesome. So, on a more realistic aspect, Andy, why don't you tell us a little bit about Gangs of Rome and like kind of how you guys came about this concept? Because for a miniatures game, this is kind of new. You're taking in like an active stealth mechanic.
Absolutely, yeah. Gangs of Rome actually wasn't my idea, if I'm being absolutely honest. We haven't stolen it off anybody. One of the chaps who works with us at Footsore, he's really mad keen into Rome. And about 5 or 6 years ago, he wrote a Rome Necromunda kind of game because that's what he wanted to play. And when he came and started working with us, he said, I've got this great game and it's about gangs in Rome. And we loved the concept, but obviously we weren't over enamored with the rules. So we took his idea and we've rewritten the rules to be what it is, ready for launch now. And, he's super cool with that. But that's simply where the concept came from. I'll be honest, I would never have come up with the idea myself. I mean, it's not something I would have thought of. I go to sleep dreaming about samurai, as you know. So it's
Right.
far away from Rome. And then I've got a partner that I work with, a guy called Adam L. Dobbins, and he is just amazing for ideas and mechanics. So between the three of us, we've come up with Gangs of Rome, and what we wanted to do was come up with something absolutely as unique as possible, but not, coming up with ingenious ideas just for the sake of it. And things like the stealth mode, as you're talking about, that came just from us playing some of the early games, and we were in Rome and it was really empty, and it just didn't feel right. So
Right.
adding the mobs and all of that kind of just really where the game grew from. It was really, it started 5 guys either side of the board, and we just kind of just had a fight. That's where it really came from, as all good games do. And it just grew from there.
Great. So it started off from just like 5 drunkards stabbing each other to, okay, let's do it with civilians around.
Absolutely, yeah. And when we started, it was cool, because in a lot of those basic concepts and the combat mechanism, everything is still included in the game as it is now. But it just felt very much like every other skirmish game, and there's some great skirmish games out there. So what we didn't want to do was just come up with a skirmish game set in Rome. We wanted it to be very different. So yeah, that's how we got to where it is. And but we did go through the growing pains of it being like every other game to start with.
Right. I think that you run into that anytime you're trying to do anything new, because let's face it, like wargaming at this point has been around so much now, and there's so many people that I don't want to call them old guard, but they've been playing / game designing for almost 20 years at this point, that there's at some point you're about to overlap in some idea somewhere that's already been done.
Yeah, I agree. I think people also get into a bit of a formula because they're comfortable there. I think also with the power of the internet, you're so connected to people, you can lose yourself trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous place to be, because you end up with some hybrid game, really, I guess, trying to make everybody happy. We've this new venture, this War Banner venture that we're on, we don't want to be doing that. We want to be making games that we want to play, and we want to be ahead of the curve and pushing the envelope. All of those cool, groovy, words to say. Bleeding edge, all of that stuff. But the reality is, we want to come out with something that people will say, "Oh, it's those guys from War Banner again." It's bound to be good. It's bound to be different. Not different for the sake that we're just trying to make a different game. It's all part of this great new mechanism, and Gangs of Rome's the first of those.
Right. So one of the other things I noticed as well with it is that you almost have like I don't want to call it a collectible card game aspect, but there's definitely ways to customize the force that goes beyond just I bought these miniatures.
Yes, of course. Again, we were looking at ways, a lot of gang games or skirmish games where you play campaigns, you build as you play and you stab someone, it just because you stabbed them, it gave you 20 experience points or whatever, and it makes you a better stabber of someone and something. I kind of think it's a bit contrived. So Adam and I really talked about how we could, make something different. And this whole concept, and it was one that Adam came up with, that what if you opened your pack, fighter was all fully realized. So it's not about your fighters, and it's not about your gang progressing. It's about you progressing as the owner of the gang, or as the Dominus. So that was the thing we wanted to do. So in reality, unlike other games, your gang isn't fixed. You can, if you had 7, 8, 10 fighter cards and you were playing a gang of 5, you can draw down any of those guys or girls that would fit the scenario that you're playing. And all of a sudden that makes it very different. And one of the things that I brought to the mix was I don't know where the idea came from, and I'm not sure if it's that borderline insanity and being genius is the fact that I said, why don't we just make every single gang member different? And
ooh, yeah.
it was like, oh, what a great idea. But so what we've done is we've got 10,000 gang members we've generated already I'm from an IT background, so I created this randomizer, and each time you press the button, it creates a unique gang fighter. So, you don't know who your gang members are going to be, which is pretty cool. But the good thing is your opponent doesn't know who your gang members are going to be either.
Right.
So all of a sudden, you set your scenario, you turn up, you don't know who you're playing until you start playing. So that
okay. So part of the mechanic is that let's say the three of us are playing a group battle. We're all three separate dominus of a gang.
Yeah.
So we are not in a way pre-selecting forces, right? Like we just kind of, I don't want to say surprise, this is who we have in our gang, but is that kind of the concept where it's like, we don't really know who's going to be available for the fight until we get there?
Yes. The idea is that it's more about the three of us. What we're trying to do is Rome was a political animal. So it's all very political. Each scenario we're trying to gain influence, and we're trying to move our house up the hierarchy in Rome. So how we're doing that is we're bringing in gang members, or we're using denarii coins to buy equipment, and you can change that from game to game. So if the three of us were people who played a lot together, and we're our gaming club, we could it could change every week when we're playing what we brought. The only thing that wouldn't change is the three of us, our influence that we would have over each other from game to game, that wouldn't change. But yeah, the whole concept is, who knows what you're going to turn up. Life's cheap in Rome. You may have a gang member one week, don't bring them again. You bring someone else, etc., etc. So it really is. You really don't know what you're going to be facing until you kick off the scenario.
Okay, so speaking of that, let's say that we do get into a stab fight in the middle of the street, and we drop three of Nick's gang's members. At that point, yes, we are gaining experience for stabbing because of the fact we're stabbing so well.
Yeah.
So in a case like that, does that mean that Nick will never, I don't want to say we toss those cards out the window. Obviously nobody would ever want to do that, but would those cards just be put aside as in these guys are actually dead, they can't ever come back into the game during this campaign?
No, not at all. You just retire them. In a game, you're retired and off you go, and you can bring them again. They're quite pretty wounded and out they go. Kind of like Necromunda or Mordheim. A lot of the time you rolled after the game to see how people were, and they got injuries. We're not worried about that. They just knocked out for that game. So if you want to bring them again, that's great. That's fine too.
Okay, but there's no permanent death scenario where it's I just managed to shiv the bejesus out of three of your models and they're super dead.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, you get sad times. You get attached to your gang fighters, don't you? In all these types of games, it'd make me very sad if you just kept killing all my guys.
Well, right. I mean, I could think back to times I was playing Necromunda and I built up this one guy that was just a completely badass sniper that basically got taken out by three juvies that rolled a lot of sixes in a row with nothing. They were just juvies with combat knives. And I was like, well, that was awesome. So how much time and effort?
No, it's more about it's more about the strategy of it. They're like your pawns in the game. That's the way it works, really.
Right, and it makes sense. I mean, you're kind of taking that whole Roman look to things. If you're the dominus of a house, these people are beneath you anyway. They don't mean anything.
No. And also, you're hiring these people in. They're not going to be traced back to you either. So that's the idea. If they go, they go.
Right. Do they level up at all?
They don't. No, they don't level up.
Okay. I didn't think so.
You can change them though. The idea with the coins that you can mix up what you equip them with from game to game.
Right.
So you can use the same fighters. They can work in different ways with different equipment.
But yeah, as you said, life is cheap. So
yeah,
that makes sense. So are there different classes of fighters? Because I've noticed so far from what you've posted.
Yeah.
Which has been a lot.
Yeah.
So I might be skipping over a few here, but you've definitely had equal representation of both male and female fighters, of just regular gang fighters, and did have a gladiator, and it looked like it was a Murmelo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you base your gang is based on I'd like to say basic fighters, but none of the fighters are basic really. So your gang would be made out of those. The actual gladiator is a coin.
Okay.
So it's a gladiator ally that you can bring and play. It's one of the Primus coins, and there's 3 of those in the game. There's him, there's the agent, and there's the mastiff, the fierce mastiff. So each of those are living coins that you have to play. They're called Primus because you have to play it on turn 1. You can't actually hide a dog. Well, you probably could, but it'd be a bit upset about it. Hide a dog in your pocket kind of thing, or a gladiator, down your cloak. They have to be set up when your gang is. So that's what they are really. But there are some special characters as well. So we've got 2 with the release. One is the guy you've probably seen where he's got his shield and he's drawing his gladius out, and he's called Barker. And we've also got there's the female one who's like saluting with she's got the gladius above her head, and that's Tisiphone. And they're fixed characters. So if someone brought them, you would know what they could do.
Okay.
And there'll be more of those as the game progresses.
Right. It makes sense. They're kind of like, arena champions or gang legends where it's like, this is their shtick. This is what they stick to. Everybody whispers about them in the taverns about this is what they do. So yeah, you kind of know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're the guys that you want to recruit if you can.
Gotcha. So I know that you said the game is not about leveling up the models, but it's kind of about leveling up us as the Dominus. So how does that go about working throughout the game?
Yeah, well, you can play the scenarios in a number of ways. We could just have a straight fight. You and I could just say, "Oh, let's have a game." You'd say how many points we were going to play, and that's another thing with the scenario. You can play all the different scenarios at different points levels. It's up to you what you want to play, which will make them all different. And then we just have a straight fight. The winner of that, great, finished. If we were playing in like the 3 of us, like we were talking about earlier. What we would do is when we play a game, say you beat me, what I would at the end of that game, what I would have to do is issue you with what's called a PIM, which is a personal influence marker. And what the PIM is, we're going to make them downloadable off the site. It's a piece of paper, or we're going to make some as well, which you can buy. But all it is, it's a personal influence I've handed over to you. So I would have to write my name on there, sign it, give it to you physically, and you take that home with you, and you can do whatever you want. I'll probably display mine on my gaming wall, just as my friends come round. I can taunt them with them, but also what they do 2 things in the game. Once you have earned 20 PIMs, you can make a run for the Senate.
Okay.
And there's a special scenario called Run for the Senate, where you have to get your Dominus into the Senate. If you get on the steps, then you become a senator and you've won that campaign. What else you can use them for is, say when because it's a campaign or we play a lot, I can use that personal influence marker and I can play it. If it's you and I playing, I can play it against you just after setup, saying, right, I'm going to use this in this game. And there's a list of influence that I can use in the back of the rule book, which I can then take into that game, which will give me a slight edge against you. So right. I can, to try and get an advantage. What I can't do though is I can't use your influence against anybody else. So say I have 4 influence markers from you, I can't use them against Nick because I've got no influence over him. Right. All my influence is over you. So what it does is it stops that kind of thing, like when we're talking about Necromunda, where I've played loads of games and my gang's really powerful, and you turn up with a brand new gang and I just gun you to death.
Yeah, which is the typical thing that happens in a lot of these campaign games, where it's like if somebody's, or even if somebody, like we all start level, but you just start tearing ahead. Like you have a couple games where it just so happens that you're there at the right time to get the scenario, and you just have amazing dice rolls, and Nick and I have terrible.
It happens,
and you tear off.
Yeah. It happens. We didn't want that to happen. Yeah. We wanted, I could have massive influence over you. So every time we play, you could only play one against one person. So I could keep playing them against you and playing them against you. So I get, and it is an advantage, but it's not a massive advantage. But anytime I play anybody new, it's like a level playing ground, playing field. So me and Nick would be on equals, or he may have influence over me, and he can play them on me. So it kind of keeps it all nice and balanced. But also, you need those pims to become a senator. So it's like, should I play it or should I keep it? Should I play it? Because you need 20.
Right. So, and I was going to say, when you play these pims during the game, like they're spent. Like if you play a pim against me, it's gone. It's not like you just decided to say, "Oh, I'm going to take this one, use it, and it goes back in the pile."
No, I give it back. I give it to you, and it's gone. You can, if it's paper, you can tear it up and get rid of it. It's gone. I've spent it.
Gotcha. Okay. I dig that because of the fact that it allows it to progress the campaign forward, but it does it in such a way to where, again, it's the political side, not just like my fighters are better than your fighters, therefore I win.
Yeah, totally. We wanted something new and fresh.
Yeah, I really like that. One of the things that I was really wondering about, just from the talks that I've seen about it and everything else, is how exactly did you incorporate the stealth mechanic? Because I know a lot of it as well is not just if the three of us were playing, we're not just going to run each of our gangs in the middle of the street and just go shank happy. Like there's consequences to actually being seen stabbing somebody else or doing, again, causing violence to somebody else or manipulating things.
Yeah. In the game as it stands at the moment, when you start, our gang members are still just normal citizens of Rome. So until you actually do something, you're just like the rest of the mob that are out there. So you can move around and do whatever you want. It's like you're going about your day-to-day business. And within a scenario, it'll either state how many mob stands that you have in there, or you can choose how many you want to play with. So we usually play with about 6 on a 3x3, which gives a good mix of some Roman citizens in there as well. So while you're moving around, nothing happens. So what the mob actually does for you, it actually works in a really cool way. They block line of sight. They're like moving terrain, which is good. You can move through them, but you lose an inch every time you move through them in your movement. You can also blend with the mob, which is quite a cool mechanic. If you move up to them, you can then disappear into a mob stand, and your gang members taken off the board. Next turn, you can come out of any of the mob stands that are on the table. In a crass way, it's kind of like a teleporter. So you can go into a mob stand down here and come out at a mob stand on your opponent's side the next turn. So it's like you've got lost into the crowd and you've been blended out, and away you go somewhere else. So that's pretty cool. While your clusters, when it's about this, it's like this thing about being discreet. You're discreet from the mob as long as you're 6 inches away from them. So any mob stand, as long as 6 inches away, you can shank someone, they won't see it. That's fine. As soon as you become within 6 inches, you then test for their reaction. So say, again, I'm picking on you, Nick. Say me and Nick have a fight. I attack one of his gang members. We're within 6 inches of a mob. Once I've obviously done Nick over, because that's what I would have done. We would roll a dice and see what the reaction from the mob would be. And they can do one of 3 things. One is they may just stand and watch. After all, it is Rome. And, they see...
It's a free gladiator fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, popcorn. Nom, 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 nom. Watch it, and it's all cool. So they may stand. They may panic, because obviously it's all kicking off near them. And they run away 10 inches directly away from what's kicking off. And any gang members in the way will get run over and take damage. So it's like, the mob is running over you. Or they may decide on a 5 or 6 to join in. And what they do is they then move to the nearest gang fighter and they put the boot in. So they can actually cause some damage to you. So that's awesome. That's how it works. So there's more happens around there. Say we were talking about that you blended with the mob. Fighters that are actually hidden in the mob. When a mob stand panics, you roll a dice, and on a 4, 5, 6, as the mob runs off, your guy was actually in that mob, and he gets left there. So if we both had a gang fighter blended in the mob, and we were in that mob stand, as they run away, we would be left in hand-to-hand combat. We'd be like, "Oh, hello," and it'd kick off. So that happens too. So that's that kind of mechanic that moves them around, and at the beginning of every round, you roll a dice, and on a 4, 5, 6 they move. So they do actually move around the city as well. So,
Okay.
it brings it to life. It was a big difference adding them to when we were playing in an empty city.
Yeah,
Right.
I actually like that mechanic. You have Necromunda, you have other games where you have these fights that happen in cities, and yet there's no city.
Yeah,
There's nobody around.
So
and
yeah,
it's Rome. It's a metropolis, so you'd expect people to be there. So
Yeah. I just wonder how south that game would go real quick if every time we got into a fight, like the crowd, like it's just like all of Rome just got sick and tired of our shit and just started putting the boot in every time we started fighting.
absolutely, yeah, it's over pretty quick. Well, one of the things is to actually stop that happening is the mob won't pick on a gang fighter if they're not wounded.
Okay. So if you're totally healthy, they'll leave you alone. They're like, oh no, this guy.
Yeah, because no, maybe not. He's a bit hard. But as soon as how it works is, as soon as they run into you, if you've got 1 or 2 or 3, damage already, you roll that many dice. So if you've only taken 1 wound, you roll 1 dice because they're only just having a little bit of a go. But if you're more wounded, they'll try and finish you off. So yeah.
How nice. Thanks, guys. Thanks. I was one of you.
Absolutely.
So I guess the other thing to add into that too is we are talking about gang fights and we talked about citizens. Is there any scenarios or special models or modifiers that happens where it's like, okay, there is a patrol of legionary that are going through the town, or even, some centurions that are like, yeah, we're done with this crap.
Not at the moment. There's 2 things there. One is that there is a scenario which we've got with sentries. So we're going to make all these scenarios available on the website for free, so you can download them and play that.
Sure.
Adam has just written a crime and punishment module, and that at night time in Rome they used to have what's called the vigils, and the vigils were like a local police force who would go around to put out fires and stop people setting fire to the place. So what we've done is, for the nighttime game, is we've removed the mob and swapped them for vigils. So what the vigils will do is, instead of you shouldn't be out at night, really. There's like a curfew. So when they see your gang member, they'll move towards them instead. And you can't blend with them. So there's
the polar opposite.
Yeah, absolutely, they're going to hunt you down. So we've done that. There's some cohort legionaries as well, etc. So after launch, we'll bring that out as well, and you'll be able to play that way too.
Yeah, and I take it just because of the fact that we are talking, aside from like the corner legendary models and gladiators, like we are talking Roman citizens that just took to crime. Like, so a legionary, encountering a legionary in this game should probably be one of those things that you really, really, really don't want to have happen to you.
Really don't want it to happen to you at all. And to be quite honest as well, with the normal fighters, because you're wearing a toga or a tunic, you've got no armor on, your defense is not very high. And also, it's not a proper fight. It's a skirmish where someone might get the drop on you. So their attack stats are quite high, but their defense stats aren't that high. So if
they're opportunists.
Absolutely, you get into a fight with someone, you're going to come off pretty bad. So you don't want to really get locked into a fight. It's not about who can kill the most people. It's about actually completing the scenario to win.
Right.
So fighting with anybody is a pretty bloody affair.
Yeah, it definitely sounds, just because of the way the mob works and everything else, that, again, like, you only fight when it's absolutely necessary or to cause a distraction.
Totally. Yeah.
Right, and that makes sense.
So what are some of the scenarios that you need to complete?
Yeah, well, we got quite a few written already. There's 3 in the book. What we've done is we've done one set outside the city for people who may not have much scenery. So it's attacking a villa on the hillside outside of Rome. So most of us have got some green scenery. We've got a villa. There'll be gang fighting around that to start with. One of the gangs is trying to set fire to the villa. The other gang are trying to stop it. So that's one of the scenarios. There's a very basic scenario in the book to get you going to start actually trying the rules. It's called Tribute to Mars. And we've actually filmed a game of that today. So we're going to make that available. And what that is pretty much a straight gang fight. And when you take out an opposing ganger, you capture their coin, and you want to take that to the center and make a sacrifice to Mars. To be honest, it was a human heart to start with, but we toned it down a bit. So we just thought that was a bit off. We'll do a coin.
Let's keep our debauchery and gang fighting family friendly, folks.
Absolutely, yeah. So Denari Heart, it's up to you how you want to play. And there's a third one is about a local senator's daughter getting accidentally killed in a gang fight, and you're blamed by the local populace around that area that they're saying it's you, and you're trying to escape while they're trying to track you down. So all three scenarios are very different.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're going to have a lot more that you release on the website and really vary it up.
Yeah, we're looking at releasing 1 or 2 a month. We've also already written a campaign book which has got 13 scenarios in. They're all linked. So we'll probably be releasing that, I'd say, early summer.
Okay.
So there's lots coming, and we understand how important scenarios are. We got 20 we're going to put up as well on release, and people can choose and play. And you can mix the scenarios up just by playing them at either 100 points or 200 points. That will make the game very different each time.
Nice. I like that. So I take it with the construction of the scenarios, you're trying to keep that in-house, but I take it if people wanted to come up with their own scenarios for their own homebrew campaigns, it should be fairly easy to do.
Dead easy. And we'd actually encourage it and get people to send them in, and we'd put them up. Because even the table and the scenery, we're not being prescriptive about it. If the scenario, like obviously would attack on the villa, you need a villa, of course,
Right.
But besides that, it doesn't matter what else you put on the table. So we're just saying this is the key piece of scenery you need for that scenario. You can either flood the table if you like, you can have it empty if you like, totally up to you how you want to play it. And again, that mixes up the scenario.
Nice. So again, you could be fighting like very, very crowded, city streets of Rome, or it could be more countryside if you wanted it to, based upon what your availability of terrain, because that's always I don't want to call it a barrier to entry for people, but sometimes, they get so stuck in playing one version or one type of game where it's like, maybe they just got a whole bunch of stands of trees. Okay. So this gang fight is actually going to happen in the woods.
Or an orchard and, in a garden or something, we're trying to be. We will be prescriptive. That's fine because some people like to be led, but we're also trying to. The game is pretty open, and how you want to play the game,
right?
And that's what we want. There's some core mechanics how you should play. The rest of it, it's all about your imagination, and we've all got massive imaginations. That's what it's why we play these games in the first place. So we would encourage people to get involved, and we've made it as easy as possible for that to happen.
Right. So, and with this as well, like this is a pseudo historical game. We're not going to start seeing undead or giants rampaging through the cities or anything like that. Unless, of course, like you come out with a miniature that's just like this giant dude.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's based on Rome. It's based on Republican Rome. I mean, to be fun, it's like Test of Honor. Test of Honor is based during the Clan Wars, Sengoku, Jidai, that period. So, but that's a massive period, you can drop in wherever you want to drop in and play the game. Again, with that, it gives the flavour and the backdrop. But again, with this, we didn't want to be prescriptive, and it's the same with Rome. It's historically based. It looks like Rome, it tastes like Rome. That's what we're saying. But, at the end of the day, you can Rome, the whole history of Rome is a huge period.
Yeah.
You can drop in and play wherever you want. And if you want to be massively historically correct, go ahead. I'm not, knock yourselves out with that. That's great. But I am pushing for Zombie Remus though, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Now I just want to do a whole scenario that's like nothing more than a Caligula bathhouse party.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Just straight chaos. Just.
Do you know what? It's funny you should say that. Sarissa have made a bathhouse for us with multiple rooms.
Yes.
So you can just fight it out inside the bathhouse if you want to.
That's awesome.
Daggers
To the
hidden inside of
party.
snapping towels.
Yes.
Oh, that is amazing. Yeah, so I really like the overall concept of the game because in a way you're taking something that like we've all done for a long time and you're glorifying the commoner in its own way, because like anytime you look at any other typical war game out there, like a commoner is not something you ever really worry about. And in a case like this, it's like you're taking commoners, and yes, they're gang members. They're there to do bad stuff. But they're not so far above and beyond like the common folk to where like the common folk are not a threat, because you see that sometimes in a lot of war games where it's like, oh, there's civilian models on the table, and it's like, okay, they might possibly attack you on like a 6 on a D6 roll or something like that, but like they're attacking my heavily armored guy with fists and they don't do anything. They're just like a distraction. So in a case like this, though, you're taking it and saying, yes, these are all commoners and they all matter.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the only difference in a lot of cases between your gang fighter and some of the mob is the fact that you're probably carrying some sort of weapon, be it a brick, you know, a thigh bone of some animal, a small dagger or whatever. But at the end of the day, you don't want to be caught by them. You know, they you know, give you a good shoeing. That's the idea behind it, and it's that balance is where it should all be.
Right.
And I think it makes it really quite interesting game. Because again, you know, heroics, they like, you know, famous people in games or heroic characters, etc. But you know, it's good to have a different game, I guess. You know,
yeah.
You know,
I mean, yeah, I was going to say you kind of took almost the same approach, not to jump off topic of Gangs of Rome, but you kind of did the same thing with Test of Honor, where it's like, yeah, okay, you have named characters in certain boxes, but past that, like samurai were just samurai. I mean, they were way better than your commoners by any stretch of the imagination, but when it comes time to like a legendary samurai, they're not. There's a level of awesome that has to be. You have to cross that threshold in order to really reach it.
Absolutely, and a lot of the awesome samurais didn't actually get into the fighting. You know, they were renowned generals, that kind of thing. So, Test of Honor. I think at the end of the day, it's pretty. When it got to that period, and especially when they were shooting at each other with stuff, you know, your days were numbered. If you're on the wrong end of a barrel of a gun, you know, you're gone.
Oh yeah, so, the moment they got their hands on arquebus, like that changed everything.
Yeah.
Suddenly samurai were not that scary.
No, it made it a totally different affair. So yeah, you know, and I kind of like simple skirmish games where you put layers on how you want. So everybody does start around the same. And again, with the gang members, you know, even though we're making unique characters as they come out, you know, the range of their stats isn't massively different. You know, if you've got a lesser stat like defense, it's going to be a 3 or a 4. That's the difference. If you've got a bigger stat like agility or attack, it could be 5 to 7. So the ranges aren't massive. It doesn't make anybody a doofus. You know, they're all on a range and they're all good at something. So none of the characters that not characters, but gang fighters that you'll you know end up with, they're all good guys, you know, all girls. So we've been playing now for about 6 or 7 months. We generated fighters randomly for everybody, and none of us have changed them. We've kept them, and we've carried on playing and got quite attached to them. So it it makes it quite interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how you know, not choosing in a way, but being given and making the most of what you've got and winning is a real powerful feeling in a game. Instead of winning because you've got the most powerful dudes, you know, it really changes the dynamic.
Yeah, there is no net listing in this game.
Oh no, absolutely not. You know.
Yeah, and I could really get behind that design just because of the fact that, you know, like you said, I like games that have layers where it's like, okay, if I play this on the very basic level, either because I'm really tired or first learning or hammered at a convention, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
I could at least pick up the basics of how this game plays within the first couple of minutes. Like, okay, I get it now. You know, and then obviously it's like, okay, let's start digging into the meat here and really figuring out, like, okay, so this character, yeah, he's really good at fighting. What is he really bad at? So I need to keep him away from this. And then it's like, okay.
Absolutely. Or you can, start looking at the coins that you're going to have in your collection and start buying some coins for your gang, which will help him. So say, for instance, he's really rubbish in defense. You just buy him, a shield or something.
Right.
So you can, there's always a way to balance it up.
Right. Which I really like that because of the fact that it's, obviously as you're gaining coin, you want to be able to spend it on people in order to make sure that, well, your outcome is more favorable for you. It's not like I'm just throwing money out the window for no reason.
No. And you know what? That's the tactical side of it. It's like taking that and creating with it, and that I really like that bit of the game. That's the bit I really like. So if we were playing a game, we would, we wouldn't turn up with our gangs and say what the game was going to be, what scenario. We would have planned a scenario beforehand. So we do build your gang before you go to fit the scenario. And you do then also, get the coins and turn up with something to actually fit that. So you're making the most of what you have to try and win that particular game. And that might change.
Right. Yeah, and it makes sense because it's just very much like if we are all playing Dominus of Rome, like our way of taking care of things is to throw money at it until it gets the way we want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. That is exactly it.
Yeah, I really like that. So how would that work then because I mean, this thing always comes up. You are designing a campaign style game. How is that going to work with like, this is the scenario and now we pick our fighters and we spend our coins? How's that going to work in like a tournament setting?
Oh, right. Yeah. We would, for a tournament, you could bring everything you own if you like. That's fine. So you can bring all your cards, all your coins, no worries. When you turn up, we would say these are going to be the scenarios you're going to play, and we would give the points of what those scenarios are, and then you would have a bit of time to work out what out of what you've brought, what would be best for that game. Scripted. Okay. We wouldn't say, okay, every game you play is going to be 150 points. Bring a 150 point gang and the coins, and away you go. No, it's going to change. Each game is going to change. It will challenge you based on what you're there.
Right, because that's always one thing that you see typically in a tournament-style game is where it's like, okay, the tournament's going to be, say, 2,000 points, and you need to have 2 lists.
Yeah.
And you're only allowed to run list A or B.
No, just bring what you got. That's cool. And also on the day, I see us handing out cards and coins. If you want to run new people, then why not? Because it's all pretty balanced. You can... it's more about the scenario you're playing and how many points you can bring to try and achieve that. That's all it's about. So, bring everything you own. You won't be able to field it all.
Well, yeah, that's true. So one question I had on that, and I may be totally wrong with this. You said you have over 10,000 different fighters generated right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, those are not all coming out released right off the bat, or are they?
Yeah, if we get orders for 10,000 blister packs, there'll be 10,000 fighters.
All right, you crazy bastards. Anyway, the reason I ask that is is because of the fact that I could almost see a situation like I take it like this is the card and I assign it to one of my models over here. It's not like there is a picture of the model on the card. No. Okay, no, so
you can use any miniature you want, no problem at all. No problem with that.
Perfect. So in a case like that, then it's really up to the players to kind of keep mindful for themselves. Like, no, that is actually this character, and trying to stop people from going, it's this guy over here.
No. What we've done is to actually counter that is you set your cards up in front of you. We show you how to do that. So from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. And then on the base, I don't know if you've seen the base. We've created what's called a jigsaw base, and it has two circles out. One of them is an ID marker. So if this is card 1 on your left, that would be stick a 1 in the base.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5. So you can change that from game to game, but you just stick an ID marker based on how your cards are set out. So there can be no cheating. In that
Perfect.
One. So that's how it works.
Okay. Yeah. I did not see that part of it, which is good because that's always one of those things that sticks out to me in games. Like You didn't always have it, but there was always that asshole that when you were playing Necromunda or Mordheim, that was like, it's like, oh no, this model's actually this guy over here. Oops, yeah, sorry
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
This one over here, he's actually one with the two-handed sword against your guy in the leather armor.
Totally, and exactly that. And the other slot is for your wounds, so you can see, at a glance how they're actually coping on the table. So a lot of people would keep all of that off and on the cards. I find it really difficult to see my opponent's cards when I'm playing. So we stuck it in the base so you can actually see what's going on there and then. And again, with the coin has to shadow the fighter on the table.
Okay.
So they can't do the old switcheroo with the coins while no one's looking on the cards. So what is there on the table is what they have.
Perfect. Okay. And, I kind of like the idea of the wound being on the model on the board because, I mean, if you think about it, like anytime you get into a street fight, you start getting your ass kicked in. People start to notice real quickly. It's not like you're just like, oh, no, I'm fine. No, you're limping around like your eye's been kicked in.
And it should be visible. The other thing is as well, the actual your movement for your character is how many wounds you have left.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, as you're getting a beating, you're not going to be able to move as fast. So as your wounds reduce, your movement reduces. So people will want to see that as well. And you can see at a glance how far you can move.
That's okay. That's a really good way of doing it. I didn't think about that before. So the more wounded you are, the less you. So your wounds equal how far you can move in inches.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you only got one wound left, you're basically hobbling around the table.
You're crawling. Yeah. You're crawling. But again, there's some coins that you can use to heal yourself.
Okay.
So that could work as well. So you can, there's like a healing cream. You can bind your wounds. There's a stitch kit to stitch yourself back together in an alleyway. So you can do all that too.
So I take it when you use these things, it kind of puts your fighter out for a round, especially like the stitch kit.
Yeah, you can usually do a couple of actions. So you can move away and stitch. So that's
perfect.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Perfect. So if he's off in the corner stitching himself, can I take advantage of that and stab him while he's stitching himself?
Totally. Yeah, of course.
Perfect. Okay, good. I mean, if we're going to play a gang.
Mate, I've got your level.
Yeah. Exactly.
I will stab you as many times as I can.
Oh, you're healing yourself? Get that guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Throw a stone at him.
Hit him with the brick. Yeah, okay. So I really like the mechanics behind that. So I guess the other thing to ask too, since we were talking bricks and other weapons like that, is there a chance for people to get improvised weaponry in the game?
Yeah, I mean, because your fighters are fully realized already, you can arm your model with anything you want. So that's fine. That's what they have. There's loads of different weapons in the coins. There's all sorts of things. There's a bone shard where it snaps off in your opponent and it causes proper damage.
Ow.
There's some horrendous. There's like a brutal cleaver, which causes some nasty stuff. There's a post hammer because they could be walking around with that.
Yeah.
As part of their job and just smack you with it. So there's all of that kind of part of it as well. So a lot of the funky weapons really come with the coins. Right.
Because I was going to say, historically looking back at it, outside of like really undercover legionnaires that were bodyguards or really sicarios, nobody really used a dagger back then. I mean, they had like kitchen knives and whatnot like that, but as far like you always see that in like shows that deal with Rome, it's like everybody's got a knife, like they're all just like trained knife fighters. Like everybody is just
no it's mostly improvised, definitely. Figures we put knives because people like to see it for some reason. They actually want to see proper weapons on figures. But we've got all sorts of things. We've got like a stone in a sock kind of weapon.
Yes.
And
go cue ball in the sock.
Well, why not? And the fighters all come with a sprue of weapons, so it's a hand connected to the weapon. You can arm them however you want.
Nice. Okay, I like that. And these are going to be metal models or plastic?
They're metal. Yeah, they're all metal.
Excellent. All right. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. This is going to be something that where I'm going to be a devious Dominus. I'll put it that way.
Oh, absolutely.
For some reason, I'm good at playing bad guys. I don't know why, but that's my thing.
Oh, mate, it's Rome. We're all bad.
Well, I was going to say that's the other side of it too. So awesome. So as far as populating the city streets, really the big pieces are going to be the roving mobs. It's not really much else outside of that. And I'm more along the lines thinking of this from like a difficulty for people to get into the game and like, oh, I need to go out and buy these 80 other miniatures to represent these things.
No, you can just use, it's an 80 mil base is what we've used. It's a movement, and how we've based the miniatures is they're all on 25 mil. Mm-hmm. So you can use any figures that you've already got. You just slot them in, and you can take them out and use them for other games. So they're not all stuck in a big base. So that automatically makes it worthwhile to buy. We've actually thought exactly that very thing, and we've done mod deals. So like the more you buy, the cheaper it is. So
right.
I think if you buy 6 stands, it's about £6 a stand or something. So you're getting 5 models for £6, which
That's
is
not bad.
$8 or something. So and they I think they're about I think it's £8 for a base. So you're saving some money, quite a bit of money.
Right. Okay. Because that was my other I don't want to say just playing devil's advocate, I guess. It was just more along the lines getting the information is just, I know that when you're talking about a game where you have lots of miniatures that in this case are roving terrain, people look at that and go, well, that's kind of a pain in the ass. And, there's always those,
of course,
those naysayers to it. So,
okay, cool. What we've done as well is we've had them sculpted by Paul Hicks, and they're just beautiful figures. We got a slaver, and he's got a couple of slaves. We've got there's a Roman woman pulling a child around the street. There's they're all very characterful as well. So they're nice models to paint. They're not just box
not
standard
just static
figures. Yeah, they're nice.
Looks like army men, just kind of like in those weird poses.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. So they're nice miniatures. We're also going to do a template, so a top-down template. So to get started, if you just want to use those, why not just download them, cut them out, stick them some card, cut them out, away you go.
Yeah, there you go. That should help people at least until if they can't drop the money all at once in order to get the big bundle, then at least that way they have something to tide them over, so they don't feel like they're missing out on the game.
No, of course not.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely excited about this. We've also got some random animals that we could throw in there too, like some donkeys and cows, pigs and whatnot that we could always use for cover.
Oh, totally. We've had some made, but you just stick them in. That's pretty cool. We got some geese coming because it's Rome. You've got to have geese.
Yeah,
we got some oxen, and pack mules. I think we've had a lion made. So every city of Rome needs a lion. So
but if that's just like a wandering citizen, I'm not going there anymore. Just well, if that thing puts the boot to you, it's not going to go well at all. Period.
It is not going to go well. Yeah. So no, it's pretty cool. There's lots of cool stuff coming.
Yeah, I really like it. So Nick, is there anything else you wanted to throw in there?
So you've got pre-orders up now. I saw that the rule book, which you were going to be posting tomorrow, has been delayed.
Yeah, we had some snow. So, about a foot of snow over here, the entire UK stops. So our photographer couldn't get to the miniatures to take the last photos. But he's done that now. So I think it'll be out early next week. We've only lost a couple of days.
Okay, so it's not a massive setback. It's just
God, no. It's
okay.
It is. It'll be this side of Christmas. There's no doubt about that. We wanted to get it out before Christmas.
Cool. And when exactly is going to be the official release date for Gangs of Rome?
20th of January.
Awesome. So people have plenty of time to start saving their pennies to get into this game.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's going to be full distribution at that point. It's not just website only. It's going to be full distribution. We'll be able to get it in the US, UK,
Yep. It's
anywhere else in the world.
Absolutely. North Star and Warlord Games are distributing it. So if you deal with either of those, you just talk to them. They've got some great deals. Obviously we can sell it ourselves, but if you do deal with them, we'd encourage you to go to them.
Cool.
And then also we've got websites, etc. And we're gamers ourselves. We're a bit daft. It's all about the game. I'm sure we'd cut anybody a good deal if you want to get into it.
There you go, folks. Just poke Andy on the internet until he caves and gives you a discount. You heard it here.
Whoops.
Whoops. Andy's like, well, now I've got to look at everyone tomorrow.
Damn, what have I done? Excellent. So, Andy, where exactly can everybody get a hold of everything you've got going on, be it Footsore, the new War Banner, Gangs of Rome, like all the Twitter and the Instagram and the Facebooks and all that good stuff? Anything that's the .com related.
Yeah. Footsore Miniatures. We've got a US store, which is footsoreminiatures.com. We've got a UK store, which is .co.uk, footsoreminiatures.co.uk. So either of those go along. All of the Footsore ranges on both. Gangs of Rome is on both. We have gangsofrome.com, which is a site which, again, has a store with all the Gangs of Rome on. It's also got a community hub, which will start to populate more and more with articles, events, whatever we're doing. So that'll all be there. So if you're into it, go there. On Facebook, we have Footsore page, Footsore Miniatures page. We have Gangs of Rome group, which is off there. So either of those are really good. War Banner is like the gaming side of Footsore, and we're currently writing more games for release next year.
Perfect. So
Excellent.
What I'm hearing, wait, next year, 2018 or 2019?
2018. We've probably got two.
Okay,
more.
Good.
After Gangs of Rome, we've probably got two more games next year, we reckon, in us.
Nice. Okay, good. I'm not going to have competition. But anyway. So anyway, folks, this has been Andy Hobday with War Banner and Footsore and Gangs of Rome and all the other good stuff he's been doing. Obviously, check out Gangs of Rome. If you haven't played Test of Honor, go play Test of Honor. I've played it. I just haven't put my stuff together. I'm a lazy bastard at the moment. But definitely go play Test of Honor. Beasts of War, he is like the big to-do on Beasts of War right now for being such an awesome guy and game designer and everything else that goes along with it. And we're definitely look for the release of Gangs of Rome on January 20th. This is going to conclude this episode of Skirmish Supremacy. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. To see more of the antics that Nick and I do, you can check us out on Facebook at Skirmish Supremacy. We also have Twitter, which we can be reached at Skirmish Supreme, because apparently Skirmish Supremacy does not fit in Twitter. And if you want to email us directly, you can reach us at tim@skirmishsupremacy.com or nick@skirmishsupremacy.com. Thanks for listening.